Welcome to my 3-part series, Fat Loss Naturally with Deborah Rossouw. Are you struggling with weight gain, especially around the middle? What about emotional eating? Do you have a love-hate relationship with food, with your body? Do you find you beat yourself up, feel guilty? If you said yes to one or more of any of these items, you're about to get relief. I too struggled with all of these things until my first health wake-up call. That set me on a path to doing research into food, energy, and health, and that was more than 25 years ago. There's good news in store for you. What did I figure out? I learned how to actually stop yo-yo dieting. I learned how to get my body back, as well as my energy, naturally. But even more exciting, I've come across recent research that has shaken up even my beliefs about how to actually reclaim your body, get your slender self back. And that's what this video series is going to teach you. Now here's the thing. You might already be saying to yourself, well, I don't have an issue. I just have this little bit around my middle. Well, that's exactly the point. We're going to be exploring together how you can actually get rid of that little bit around your middle. Because up till the time that I authored my own book, Alive on Raw, Get Your Body and Energy Back, I thought I had it all worked out. I'm really glad to say that as new research comes along and shakes up one's own thinking, like this did mine, it takes a bigger person to actually step up and say, you know, maybe I wasn't so right. Maybe I too can learn something. And that's exactly why I've put together this video series, because I too learned something, and I learn something new every day. Even since writing my book, my thinking has changed, and I'm editing the second version. But here's what I want you to know. I've created a 3-part video series that's going to help you with fat loss fast, the natural way. I've overcome a chronic illness caused by an inflamed pancreas. I'll tell you more about that just now. I've also overcome yo-yo dieting, as well as emotional eating. And if I can do it, so can you. Because heaven knows I have no willpower whatsoever. People who look at me say, oh, but you've got all the willpower in the world. No, it's not true. I have no willpower, absolutely zero. But I can tell you I'm driven by fear. The fear of the pain that I've suffered, as well as I'm driven by wanting to actually look good, feel good, and have energy. And you can too. Hello, I'm Deborah Rossouw, the well-being coach and the founder of ALIVE.vc, and VC stands for very cool. The information I'm about to share with you on this 3-part video series is very, very cool. I hope you're going to enjoy the information as well as learn from it so that you can shake up your own health, your own well-being, and bring fat loss into being in a natural way. What I've done is I've overcome a chronic illness. I've also overcome eczema and depression. And I've recently discovered that both of those are food-related. And I did that all without medication. But our focus today is on fat loss. So that's what we're going to do in the next 3 videos. Let me share with you what the 3 videos are about, and then I'll give you some information. Video number 1, which is this one, is the skinny on reclaiming your slender self. Video number 2 is the skinny on how to transition to fat loss successfully the natural way. And video number 3 is the symptoms and supplements that'll help you during the transition so that you actually can regain that slim self to fit into those skinny jeans you've been wanting to fit into for such a long time. I'm going to teach you what actually causes fat gain, and it might not be what you think. I'm also going to share with you how you can actually switch on your fat burning switch, as well as rev up your metabolism. In this video, the first one, the skinny on how to get your slender, slim self back again, I'm going to teach you the following things. Let me read my notes. the one action that you must take for immediate fat loss. The basics on the glycemic index and the glycemic load. Understand the difference, but just understand what it stands for so that you can apply it immediately, even from today. Number 3, why you must stabilize your blood sugar. And number 4, 3 simple steps for successful fat loss starting now, starting today. I'm also going to share with you 2 recipes, very quick and easy ones that align with what I've just shared. I told you about my first health wake-up call. Well, here's what my specialist said to me when I landed in hospital for 5 days as a rare textbook case. He said, Deborah, you are going to have to be on a low-fat, low-sugar diet for life. But that's not all. You're also going to have to pick up exercise. You're going to have to do this regularly. And you're going to have to be on medications for life. You know that last thing? I didn't quite like that. Me on medication for life? You've got to be kidding. That's what I thought when I walked out of the doctor's surgery. Here's what I can tell you. I was one of those rare textbook cases, but I also was one of those people who was able to hear what it was my body needed. And as a result, I overcame that chronic condition called pancreatitis, which is inflammation of the pancreas. I overcame that without medications more than 25 years ago. So I think I have a little something to share around health, the body, and energy. And my hope is that it's going to be helping you around fat loss. Let's make the links between inflammation and fat gain and so on, so that you have something real that you can hold on to. I experimented with my own body. I went on low-fat, low-sugar diet for a very long time. And then I switched. I even went on to a raw vegan diet, authored my book. But I've learned something that is going to be very, very important for you to also take in. And it has to do with switching on your fat-burning switch or gene, or whatever it is you want to call it. That was the one thing that I've done differently quite recently to get rid of what I had as, you could pinch and there was something there. Well, there's very little there now. So you too can switch on your own fat burning. No more yo-yo dieting. No more emotional eating. No more weight gain, especially around the middle, which is what I call the muffin top. You can get rid of that. But let's find out what the latest research has to say about it. Now, before I do that, I'd like to share with you a disclaimer. I'm not a nutritionist, a doctor, a dietitian. My role is to report on what I have discovered over 25 years and more recently around diet, health, and energy, all relating to food, as well as to report from reputable sources, professionals, doctors, medical practitioners, of the likes of Dr. Gabriel Cousens, Dr. Tim Noakes, Dr. Michael Eads, many others who themselves have researched in this field. So I don't diagnose, neither do I prescribe. I merely make recommendations as have been given by these reputable sources. So let's understand what causes the muffin top. You know that look, which isn't very comfortable to sit with either? What causes that? Well, the latest research is showing that it is caused by inflammation. Now hold on to that thought. There's inflammation, but there's more. The latest studies have taken the world of wellness by storm. Up till now, it has been believed that heart disease is caused by cholesterol. Well, this latest research says no, that is not so. It's actually caused by inflammation. So here's where we make the link between inflammation, weight gain, and moving forward in your own life in terms of weight loss. For years, I followed a sports scientist doctor named Dr. Tim Noakes. He was held in very high regard, and he still is. I respect him highly because even Dr. Noakes has recently brought out a book which has shifted my thinking and the thinking of many other people. And it goes counter to everything that he taught before. He used to teach athletes to go on a high carbo loading before they went into any events. He's now recanted. He's now turned that around, and he's now advocating for a low-carb diet as a lifestyle. That is exactly what I'm advocating for as well. When we look at what inflammation does in the body, not just to the muffin top, but also in terms of progressing diseases like heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and stroke, we need to recognize that this one action we can take in our own lives can make a huge difference to the muffin top as well as to any other diseases potentially that could affect us. Dr. Gabriel Cousens recently researched or shared research on this concept of inflammation being the cause of heart disease. Well, it's the same cause of that muffin top that we have. And so what we want to learn about is these carbohydrates that actually cause that. Let's talk about carbs in terms of their GI load as well as what GI means, which is the glycemic index. The glycemic index is the rating that's given to food items. Each food, in fact, can have its own glycemic index. And what that means is how quickly the body converts the food into sugars or glucose, which are carried in the bloodstream. So the glycemic index is the rating given to food in terms of that conversion in the bloodstream. The glycemic load is the combination of that glycemic index, the rating, plus the quantity of food that one eats. So that makes up the load. What one really needs to be aware of is both, so that you can actually control what it is that you're taking into your body so that you can actually move forward in a more healthy way. Let's talk about carbohydrates and the role of insulin. Every time you eat, your body is having to convert that food into some form of energy. Everything gets converted, whether it's a protein, a starch, a fat. However, if we have a high carbohydrate meal, no matter whether it's simple or complex carbohydrates, then that food, its high GI load, has to be assimilated into the body. And this is where things get a bit tricky. Insulin has the role of transporting the glucose from the bloodstream into the cells. But if we've eaten too much carbohydrates, then the body says, no, the cells actually resist receiving that insulin. It's as if they close their doors on you. So what happens is there's an excess of glucose or sugar in the bloodstream. Well, it's got to go somewhere. And insulin has the job of transporting that. But if the cells of the body are saying, no, we're not taking it in, then insulin hasn't got any other option but to store it somewhere else. Guess where insulin takes it? You've guessed, around the belly. And when it's done enough there, it sends it to the tush as well as to the thighs. That's why you've got to make sure that you go on a low GI or low carb diet so that you can actually reduce the problems, the inflammation that is being caused in this area. So the one thing for immediate fat loss that you can do is shift each meal to low carbohydrate with a low GI load, the low glycemic index and load. What are the foods you can eat? Very easy. High quality protein, non-starchy veggies, as well as good fats. I'll tell you more about those in the series as we go. But here's the other thing. It's not enough to do just that. Oh, come on, you might be thinking. There's got to be more. Yes, there is. It can sound so simplistic to say just go on a low-carb diet. But there's more. There's support that's needed, and I'll share more in the next 2 videos. But the piece that I want you to know now is that as you go on this low-carb diet, you need to put some steps in place. So I want to share those steps with you right now so that you get started immediately. The first is decide to never go yo-yo dieting again. Here's why. There was research done in the 50s by Dr. Schwartz, and he experimented because he had clinics. They were weight loss clinics. And over a 15-year span, he found that all his clients who had gone on the diets that he'd given them and lost the weight returned the next year having packed on even more pounds. He couldn't understand why this was happening. The diets seemed to be working, but people kept on coming back even heavier than they'd started off. He then experimented with thin people. They were aghast when he put them on a diet. He said, no, wait, you're actually going to find out this is going to work for you. He was right. The thin people, having done diet after diet after diet, started to put on weight. So we know from Dr. Schwartz's studies in the 50s that dieting does not work. It'll fail you every time, and it has nothing to do with your willpower. Decide to stop yo-yo dieting is step number 1. Step number 2, commit to changing your eating habits for good. And step number 3, take action immediately in the right direction. High quality protein, leafy greens, good fats. Now for those 2 recipes that I promised to get you started right away. The very first is the high quality protein, and these are breakfast recipes because this is the time that you really need to have high quality protein, and that's the morning. So if you're a non-vegan, here's what I'd like to suggest. Scramble some eggs, preferably organic free-range eggs. Have them or serve them on top of steamed kale, and then add a little bit of miso sauce, just miso that you can buy in any health food store with a little bit of water. Put that over the kale, top it with your scrambled eggs. It's beautiful, it's delicious. Recipe number 2, the vegan option. Chia seeds that are soaked, combined with coconut oil, 1 tablespoon. And then what you do is you make a cream, not with that, with something else. Thawed out blueberries, you get a lot of those in the frozen fruit section. Thaw them with a little warm water, rinse off the water, and then add half a can of coconut cream, or skim it off from the coconut milk in the can. Blend those 2 together, and if you like it a little sweeter with a touch of stevia, you can either use plain stevia, or my preference is English toffee stevia. Mix that into the cream and pour that into the chia and coconut mixture. Then add some walnuts and some hemp seeds. It's a beautiful breakfast. It'll sustain you for a couple of hours, and it is high quality protein. So the action for you to take today is to shift to a low carb diet and start off with breakfasts that have high quality protein. I'm Deborah Rossouw from ALIVE.vc. I look forward to seeing you on video number 2, where I'm going to give you the skinny on how to transition to fat loss naturally and successfully.